What if everything you were taught about becoming successful was actually backwards? What if the reason millions of people work exhausting hours, decade after decade, and still end up financially stuck is not because they're lazy, not because they're unlucky, and not because the system is rigged against them, but because they've been focusing on completely the wrong thing the entire time? Here's something that will stop you mid-thought. There was a famous experiment studied by behavioral economists where lottery winners were tracked over a 5-year period after receiving massive jackpots, and the results were shocking. The majority of them returned to their original financial state within just a few years. Some ended up worse off than before they won. The money didn't change their lives, because the money never changes a life on its own. Only the person holding the money determines what happens next. And if that person hasn't grown into someone capable of handling that level of wealth, the wealth simply evaporates. That one truth right there is worth more than any stock tip, side hustle idea, or motivational quote you've ever heard. So today, we're going to go deep. We're going to talk about the real psychology behind wealth, happiness, and lasting success. We're going to talk about why income almost never exceeds personal development. And we're going to walk through 3 powerful time-tested steps that can genuinely change the trajectory of your life, starting from this moment forward. Stay with me, because what we're about to cover is not surface-level advice. This goes into the roots. The core law that almost nobody talks about here is a principle that the most successful people in the world quietly operate by, and it is this: your outer world is almost always a direct reflection of your inner world. Your income, your relationships, your health, your confidence, your opportunities, they are all reflections not of your circumstances but of who you have become as a person. The great American entrepreneur and philosopher Earl Nightingale, one of the most studied voices in personal development history, described success as the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. Not the arrival, not the destination, the progressive realization, the growth, the becoming. And one of the most important observations made by self-made millionaires and business leaders across generations is this: income rarely, if ever, far exceeds personal development. In other words, you don't earn what you want. You earn what you are. Now that's a powerful statement, and it might feel uncomfortable at first, but think about it carefully. 2 people can work at the same company, in the same department, doing the same tasks. One of them is constantly reading, learning, improving their skills, expanding their thinking, developing emotional intelligence, studying leadership. The other is just showing up, clocking in, clocking out. Within 2 or 3 years, those 2 people are in completely different financial and professional positions, not because of luck, because of personal development. And when success does come to someone who hasn't done that inner work, it tends not to stay. History is filled with examples of athletes, musicians, and entertainers who earned enormous amounts of money in a short period of time and lost every dollar within a few years. Not because they were bad people, but because their identity, their beliefs, their habits, and their mindset were never aligned with that level of success. The great news is that this works the other way too. When you build yourself up from the inside, when you develop the discipline, the knowledge, the mindset, and the character of a successful person, success tends to find you. It starts to feel less like something you chase and more like something you attract. Step 1. Become obsessed with finding out how things work. The first major step toward genuine life change is this: find out how things work. This sounds simple, maybe even obvious, but most people never actually do it with intention. Think about it this way. If you want to be a successful investor, the most logical thing in the world is to study investing. Study the people who have done it. Study the principles behind it. Study the mistakes that destroy portfolios and the habits that build them. But what do most people do instead? They guess. They follow random advice from people who are also guessing. They act on a tip from someone at a dinner party, and then they wonder why things didn't work out. The philosopher and author Napoleon Hill spent over 20 years studying more than 500 of the wealthiest, most successful people of his era, including Andrew Carnegie, Henry Ford, and Thomas Edison. The result was the landmark book Think and Grow Rich, published in 1937, which remains one of the best-selling personal development books of all time. And one of the foundational observations Hill made was this: successful people are students. They are relentlessly curious. They study what they want to achieve with the same seriousness that a medical student studies medicine. So here is the guiding principle. If you want to be wealthy, study wealth. If you want to be healthy, study health. If you want to build meaningful relationships, study what makes relationships thrive. If you want to build a business, study business. Don't leave the most important areas of your life to chance and hope. Make them a deliberate field of study. And now let me give you 3 specific, practical ways to do exactly that. The first way is to read. There is a consistent pattern among the world's most accomplished people when it comes to reading. Warren Buffett, one of the most successful investors in human history, has spoken publicly about spending up to 80% of his workday reading. Bill Gates reads approximately 50 books per year and has maintained that habit for decades. Elon Musk has credited books with teaching him how to build rockets. When asked how he learned to do it, his answer was simple. He said, "I read books." Now you don't need to read at the pace of Warren Buffett, but consider this. Reading just 30 minutes a day on a topic directly related to the life you want to build adds up to roughly 180 hours of focused learning per year. That is equivalent to more than 4 full university work weeks spent entirely on the subject of your choosing. And here's something that doesn't get talked about enough. When a successful person writes a book about their journey, they are essentially handing you the compressed wisdom of decades of trial, failure, discovery, and breakthrough. They're giving you the shortcut. A single book, read at the right moment in your life, can save you 5 years of painful trial and error. 5 years. The difference between the people who build extraordinary lives and those who don't is very often found in what they read and what they choose not to read. The second way to find out how things work is to listen. Specifically, get around people who are already doing what you want to do and listen to them carefully. Not just to the words they say, but to how they think, how they frame problems, how they talk about setbacks, and how they describe opportunity. There's a behavioral concept in psychology known as environmental influence, sometimes discussed in relation to the work of researcher David McClelland at Harvard University, who found that the social groups we belong to have a profound impact on our economic outcomes. McClelland's research suggested that up to 95% of your success or failure in life can be attributed to the people you most closely associate with. That's staggering. The writer and naturalist John Burroughs once said that for every benefit you receive, a tax is levied. You cannot receive the harvest without first planting the seeds and tending the soil. That is not pessimism. That is simply how the world works, and understanding it clearly is one of the greatest advantages a person can have. So work with integrity. Do things right the first time, even when it would be faster and easier to do them halfway. Build relationships honestly. Build your reputation carefully. Build your financial foundation on real skills and real value, not clever manipulation or lucky timing, because everything you build on solid ground stays, and everything you build on shortcuts eventually falls. The final thought, who are you becoming? Here is the question that ties everything together, and it's the question worth returning to at the end of every single day. Not, what did I achieve today? But who did I become today? True happiness, the deep, lasting kind, is not found in what you accumulate. It is found in who you become in the process of pursuing something meaningful. The confidence that comes from discipline, the peace that comes from integrity, the joy that comes from growth. These are not side effects of success. They are the real success. And here's the beautiful thing about all of this. Change is always available to you. It doesn't require perfect circumstances. It doesn't require a fortunate beginning. It doesn't even require that you have everything figured out right now. It just requires that you make a different decision today than you made yesterday. So ask yourself, honestly and seriously, what is one thing you can do differently starting tomorrow that could shift the direction of your life? One new habit, one new book, one new relationship, one new discipline, one honest conversation with yourself. Because if you don't make that change, next year will look a lot like this year. And 5 years from now will look a lot like the last 5 years. But if you do, if you truly commit to working harder on yourself than on anything else in your life, everything becomes possible. And that's not motivation for motivation's sake. That is the documented, observable, repeatable experience of every person who ever built something meaningful from nothing. The path is clear. The only question is whether you're willing to walk it. If this spoke to you, share it with someone who needs to hear it today. And if you're ready to go deeper, the next video is already waiting for you.